Good evening, Beruchim Habayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class is being given Leilu Nishmat Baruch Yochanan ben Ephraim Fischel. Tei Nishmato Tzura B'tzor HaChaim Began Eden HaElyon and Kol HaTzadikim VaChasidim. Amen ve'amen. So I'm really here tonight to share a story. And the background of the story is my excuse of sending a much greater real Talmid Chacham last week to speak instead of me. Because last Thursday night, and you guys know that I try, even under extreme circumstances, not to miss Thursdays, but I was invited to speak by a Seudat Hodaya. A Seudat Hodaya, for those who don't know, is when somebody had a miracle, a big miracle. So they make a party, a celebration to thank Hashem for the miracle that they had. Now there are many Seudot Hodaya, thank God, in Am Yisrael every day, because there's so many Nisim v'Niflaot to everybody. And, if we would attend them all, there'd be no end. Even though, by the way, attending a Seudat Hodaya might be a great idea. And I'll tell you why. The Midrash says, I'm giving you a Midrash, a quote, and then my analogy, and we have to differentiate between the two, to be fair. This Midrash, there are many Midrashim that are more, let's call them popular, that we know more of. Like Midrash Rabbah, Midrash Tanchuma, and Yalkut Shimoni, which are the three most famous, I guess. There are many other Midrashim that exist that are known but less known. Some of them also were written a little bit later in history. One of those Midrashim is a Midrash called Shochar Tov. So in the Midrash Shochar Tov on Tehillim, in chapter 18, the Midrash says an unbelievable thing. Kol ha'osim lo nes, I'm quoting word for word. I wrote it down on a paper because I didn't want to misquote. Kol ha'osim lo nes, if somebody, Hashem makes him a miracle, ve'omer shira, and he says praise to God, meaning he thanks Hashem for the miracle he has, mochalin lo kol avonotav, they instantly forgive him on all his sins. The Midrash is not done yet. That alone would be good enough, no? V'na'asa b'irya chadasha. And it's as if he was recreated again. Meaning if he had other things going on negative in his life, he has a new slate. Hashem starts everything all over again. You hear this Midrash? Let's go. Let's do it one more time. Kol ha'osim lo nes. If somebody had a miracle, v'omer shira, and he says praise to Hashem on it, mochalim lo kol avonotav, they forgive all his sins, v'na'asa b'irya chadasha, and he becomes a completely new creation. I just want to make a little observation. That means that if a person wakes up in the morning, that's a nes. Right? Many people didn't wake up this morning. And he says Modeh Ani, and he actually understands what he means, what the words mean. And he means it when he says it. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me back my neshama, that I'm alive again. At that moment, Hashem forgives him on all his sins, and he becomes a new person. And he does this every day again, and he lives a sin-free life. He lives the life of a righteous person. And you could say it sounds far-fetched. No problem, I agree with you. Take it up with the Midrash. But if the Midrash says so then I think that's a credible case, no? After 120, this Midrash we could bring to God. But my instincts told me last week, and I spoke it over with Talmidei Chachamim like I always do when I have something that I think is a little extreme, and I'm not sure if it could be said or not. And I said, if somebody partakes in a Seudat Hodaya, and he also sings the praises of God, wow, what a nice Hashem made for my friend, then he would also get this benefit of Mochalin al Kol Avonotav. And I wanted to bring a few proofs for it. One of them are that in Halakha it says, if somebody, God forbid we should never know, let's say for example, this is just a modern day example, was driving somewhere, it was icy, the car spun out, and it could have ended very different, and thank God, he was saved. So al pi halakha, every time he passes that place on the highway, and a week later he's in a new car, driving down that place on the highway, he has to say a blessing. Baruch she'asa li nes b'makom hazeh. Blessed is the God who made me a miracle in this place. But not only him, his sons, 150 years later, drive by that place on the highway, they have to say the same blessing, Baruch, but with one difference. Baruch she'asa le'avi nes b'makom hazeh. Blessed is the God who made my father a miracle in this place. Unbelievable thing. Wait, but the son didn't have a miracle. And in Halakha, it doesn't say only if the son was born afterwards, otherwise known as if his father would have died, he would have not been born. No, the son was alive and well. So you see that when you partner with somebody else's miracle in singing God's praises for the miracle that we saw, you also reap the benefit of being somebody who's modeh al hanes. And in that case, the Midrash says, "Mochalim al kol avonotav v'na'asa b'riya chadasha." So, 2 weeks ago, a gentleman who I don't know, who I got to know through a friend of mine of 16 years, speaks to me on the phone and tells me he had a crazy miracle. He was in a terrible car accident with his driver, and he got out against all odds without a scratch. And he's making a Sudat Odaya, and he wants me to come speak there. So I said, what's the date? He told me Thursday. I said, I'm sorry, you know the rules. Thursday, it don't work. So he starts explaining me how it's so important for him and this and that. And we still didn't agree. And then he tells me, I'll pay you. I said, I don't work for money. The bribes don't help me. And then he tells me, so what's the problem? I said, I don't believe in canceling the shiurs. He says, so get some other rabbi to speak instead of you. So I said, fine, maybe that's an idea, but I still like going myself. So then he tells me, okay, I'm going to send you pictures and then you'll decide. And he sends me pictures to my phone of his car and what happened. And when I saw the pictures, I called right back and I said, I'm in. I said, this I got to be part of. When I got involved in agreeing to speak there, I had no idea what I'm getting involved in. I thought I was getting involved in this great miracle that happened to him, which is unreal. And that's it. You know, that's what I thought. Only when I was there and figured everything out that happened around and the whole thing, I figured out the extent of the blessing that God gave me to make that decision. And I sincerely feel that the reason why I was given that privilege to be there and be part of that event, even though there's not somebody I know, is because Hashem wants this story relayed on, L'man yishmeu v'yirau, in order for us to learn from it and see the greatness of God and the importance of everything involved in the story that I'm about to say. And I know many times I said over stories, and I told you, out of all the stories I said, this one tops them all. Guess what? This one tops them all. Once again. And when you live it live and you get to know the people and you see them and you see everything, it's not something you read in a book. Sometimes I say over stories I read in a book or heard in a speech, right? And I quote where I got it from. This I lived. I saw it. I saw the pictures, saw the person who was in it, saw the people involved in all the details of the story. So it suddenly becomes a part of you. And it's so much more powerful that way. Listen to this amazing thing. Let's go back approximately 2 months. My dates might be off by a few days, but that doesn't make a difference. There's a gentleman who currently lives in the vicinity of Lakewood, New Jersey. He allows me to say his name. I called him yesterday specifically telling him I'm giving a speech and I want to say over the speech with your name because that gives the story more credibility. And he told me, no problem, gladly. His name is Menachem Mendel Deitch. That's his name. His friends know him as Mendy Deitch. He lives in the vicinity of Lakewood. I got to know him in the past week. Wonderful, wonderful person. Big heart, amazing guy. Young. He was in his young 30s, 31, 32 maybe, that's my guess. And he travels for work to New York or to other places, wherever his dealings are. And the commute from Jersey into the city is not a lot of fun, let me just tell you that from experience. So Baruch Hashem gives him the ability that he has a driver, and he believes in giving parnasah to Jews, so his driver is a Jewish kid, or a Jewish guy. I don't know the driver's age. They would, 2 months prior to this incident of him and his driver going into New York that I'm about to say, he was in the car again, like he does almost every day, and he gets a phone call from his brother. And his brother tells him like this, my daughter hasn't been feeling well for a few days. She had trouble breathing, other things, they went to the doctor said first bronchitis, then this and that, finally they decided it's pneumonia. At one point she couldn't breathe at all, she was rushed into the hospital. They put her on all different machines because the situation deteriorated very quickly, and the doctors notified the parents that only a miracle can allow this girl to live, from what seemed to be a simple bronchitis at the beginning. And unfortunately, those of you who are acquainted with the medical field know that respiratory things sometimes get out of control quickly. And he calls his brother, and he tells his brother, listen, my daughter's in critical condition, and she's not a young girl, she's 12, 13, whatever, something like that, and we're all panicking, and maybe you could also be part of this, we're all giving charity and doing mitzvot or something, whatever, It should be a schut for Shlema, for your niece, meaning my daughter. That's what his brother tells him. And he says, sure, what's the question? And he's in his car and he picks up the phone and he calls up a rabbi, which I met personally and I know personally for many years, and I know his work, and a lot of our funds contribute to his work on a weekly basis, who runs an operation in Israel which is amazing, that takes care of families of widows and orphans. And the work they do is so holy, there's no words to describe. That's why I partner with them. I like partnering in good investments, or in what I consider the best investments, and this is one of the best I have. And they have, lo aleinu, it's sad to say that there's that many that they have on their list, but they have over 80 widows that they send food to every weekend, but not just food. Beautiful packages, presented nice and fancy. It doesn't make a person feel like a beggar. It makes a person feel like a king. And every holiday, every widow gets a gift, jewelry and whatever. Every night of the week, they have private tutors hired to teach the children of all these kids, because they don't have a father to teach them like most kids. Unreal. Can you imagine what an operation that is? We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of children. 80 families, even if every family is only 5 kids, which in Israel is a very low number, still talking about 400 children. But I know that the number is over 1,000, because I'm involved. And they make Shabbatons, both for the mothers and also for the children separately. This past Shabbat, they made a beautiful Shabbat in Israel for 386 orphans, girls, females. They wined and dined them in the nicest way, brought the best speakers, and on top of everything else, gave each girl an individualized, personalized gift of a beautiful, beautiful necklace to make them feel that they're not second class because they don't have a father. Unreal. Holy, holy work. This gentleman, Mendy, knows about this organization, not through me, way before I knew who he was. And he picks up the phone and he calls Israel and he calls the rabbi of this organization. And he tells him, I want to make you a deal. I didn't get permission to give the numbers, so the numbers of the charity I'm not going to say. But I want to make a large donation to your organization. But I want a condition. That do me a favor and tell your volunteers and whoever it is to take my niece's name to pray for her. That she should get better. And the rabbi says, sure, I'll arrange it right away and whatever. And then he tells the rabbi, right now I'm a little tight on cash flow because of investments that I have out and I'm waiting for closings to come in, to be finished. So I'll make you a down payment now on the amount that I want to give, and the rest I'll pay in a couple of days. I'm about to make a closing, a few days later, I'll pay you the rest. And the rabbi tells him, listen, even the first amount, the down payment, quote unquote, is a very generous donation. Don't feel pressured. He said, no, this is what I want to do, and that's it. He gives him his credit card, he tells him, charge me this amount today, I'll call you in a few days, or you call me, and I'll pay the balance off. In less than 3 days, his niece was off of life support, in full recovery, and a week later walked out of the hospital like a healthy person, and the doctors told her parents that they have no medical explanation in the world how this happened. They thought it was over. They didn't even believe she'd make it through that night. He was ecstatic, as happy as could be. It's hard to know who gets credit for what, right? But at the end of the day, it's zakat tatzil mimavit, so it does make sense. And he called his rabbi to thank him and whatever, and that was that. Almost 2 months went by, and he's in his car on the Garden State Parkway driving towards New York. He's not driving, his driver's driving. Now, just so you understand, I'm not saying this to show off somebody else's things. It's more that you understand he wasn't driving a cheap car that has mechanical problems. That brand new Audi A8, fully loaded, as big, fancy, and safe as could be. With a very well-experienced driver, even though he's young, who's been taking him for a long time and never had issues, and everything is being done right. On a day that the weather wasn't terrible, and there's no explanation for anything. He's driving on the highway, and suddenly it hits him, wait a second. I made a pledge to charity for my niece. I paid part. I told the rabbi I'd call him in a few days to pay the rest. I totally forgot to call him. He never called me. My niece is better. This is embarrassing. And he takes his cell phone out immediately, and he calls the rabbi. And he tells the rabbi, why didn't you call me? He said, what do you mean? I was embarrassed. You told me you were tight. I'm not going to call you. He said, but I told you in a few days I have a closing and I'll have the money. It's no problem. I'll pay you. He said, whatever, I didn't call you. Okay, well, why'd you call me? He said, number one, to say thank you. My niece, thank God, is better, and this, unbelievable. But number two, I want to pay it off. But I want it done right now. He says, because otherwise I'm going to forget, it's going to get dragged out. This second I want to do it. Rabbi, can you charge my credit card right now? He says, give me a minute. He connects to the office, whatever. Gives the credit card number. He says, take the rest of the balance right now. Pays off his balance. They drive, I think it's 1 mile. The car spins out for reasons that I don't think they know until today. Flips over 100% upside down and lands on its roof. Bursts into huge flames. He gets out in a way that he doesn't know how to explain himself. Sees the car on fire with his driver inside the driver's seat, knowing that that's his end. Goes into the flames, pulls out his driver, and they both watch the car burn to crisp. I have pictures on my phone if you want to see afterwards. Nothing left of the car. And neither one of them has a scratch. When you see the way the car landed, there is no scientific way to explain this. It just doesn't fit in measurements. It doesn't work. There's no way to explain it. He actually took a selfie of himself after they put out the fire of the car, with the car in the background and him smiling. Wonderful idea. That means emotionally he was doing okay too, if he was in that state of mind. The police officers and the fire department and the ambulances that came, they didn't even think there was what to save. Like, they weren't even in a rush when they got there. They thought this is, at the most there'll be body parts. And they see two guys at the side of the road. They say, who are you? They say, we were in that car. What do you mean you were in that car? And the cops are like, this is impossible. Impossible, I don't know. Then he thinks to himself, he said, wait, Paul, one of my donations saved my niece's life, and I just finished my donation a minute ago, and my life was spared. And when he realized the extent of the miracle, he said he got to make a big party to thank Hashem. He invited all his friends, he had a beautiful event, and he asked me to speak there. When I saw those pictures of that car, I said, I've never seen anybody come out alive from such a thing. There is no such thing. It doesn't exist. I said, this is a rare miracle. This doesn't make sense. I said, there got to be a very deep message behind it. And instinctively, of course, the message is very simple. If you support those who are less privileged, especially orphans and widows, and Torah scholars and students, Hashem saves your life. Hashem protects you. He gives you a protection. But then I decided, let me dig deeper. Maybe there's more let me dig into it from a spiritual perspective. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't only because I wanted to understand it for myself. A lot of it was because I had to speak. So I wanted to have something beyond saying over the story, right? The story he could say over. And I came up with something, v'siyata d'shmaya, that's literally wild. This guy's name is Menachem Mendel Deitch. I asked him, about an hour before I went to his event, to send me in a text message exactly the way he spells it personally, because different people spell names different ways, in Hebrew, with Hebrew letters. That's what I asked him. So he sent me his name. According to the way he spells his name, the numeric value of his name is 665. His first name, his middle name, and his family name. We all understand that when somebody has a miracle like this, it wasn't him alone in the story. Hashem was with him. And also in Gematrias, we know, by the way, that one less, one more, there's Ima Kolel, without the Kolel, there's a way. So I went along with the number 664, adding God, looking at it that way. And I said, let me figure out, in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, which words or psukim or whatever it is have the numeric value of 664. Meaning including God, 665, Menachem Mendel Deitch. And this is too good to be true. So you may want to check it. I'll tell you, last week there were a lot of people on their phones checking this because nobody wanted to believe it. In the entire Chamisha Chumshei Torah, there are only 3 words that fit the 664 number. Exactly 3 words. Now listen to what those 3 words are. Word number 1 comes from a story in Chumash Bereshit when Yosef went from being a prisoner to being the vice king, and they took him with a driver in a chariot in the streets of Egypt. And the Torah describes that chariot bimilkevet. In Hebrew we call a car a rechev, the shorish of the word bimilkevet. Not just a car driven by a driver. That was the first time in the Torah that numeric value showed up. Now, the way his accident happened, there were 1 or 2 options I think we all understand that could have came out of this. Option number 1 is Lo Aleinu. We'll leave it at that. It would have not ended so happy. Option number 2 is a live miracle, which is thank God what he merited, and he should always merit to have many miracles. Listen to this. The other 2 words in the Torah, and these are the only other 2 words in the Torah. So those of you who know statistical algorithms will understand the extent of the odds over here. 1 in 276 million is a quick equation that you can do in your mind, but it's probably a lot less than that when you equate all the letters and everything else in combinations. The only other 2 words in the Torah that fit this bill is 1 word in Chumash Dvarim, Tehargenu, I will kill him, meaning the result of death. And another word that's written prior in the Chumash, Virichamti, and I will have mercy on it. In Biur Agara, in the Akdamat Safa Detzniuta, the Gaon writes that everything that will ever happen in history, down to the tiniest detail, even to animals, is written in one way or the other in a hint in the Torah. And exactly this wild miracle that I was a witness to, the person who came out alive and had the great honor and privilege of being part of his celebration, I found the source in the Torah. There will be a day that there'll be somebody who's going to be with a driver in a car, bimilkevet, and he's going to be in a situation that he'll have 2 options. Either Verichamti, I'll have mercy on him, or Tehalgenu, Baminan, only on Sonei Israel. And what made the difference between Tehalgenu and Verichamti? Tzedakah Tatzil Mimavet. A man who you can call at any time of the day or night, and he'll always want to help in one way or the other. Whether he can, whether he can't, whether it's within his means, whether it's beyond his means, and everything in a hidden way. And that's why when I was scared to say the story with his name without asking him permission, because he's so not the type to want his name being publicized. But he feels because of the great miracle that happened, he allows that his name should be publicized. But then I said, wait a second. Here, in a way, I rounded it off a little bit. I took 664 instead of 665 and added God into the equation, and then took the 664 Gematria, and that's how I came up with this amazing formula. But let's use 665 for face value. And let's see what else the Torah says about it. So what did he do as a result of his miracle? He made a party. When he made a party, what was the party for? To say thank you. Thank you for what? For the kindness of God. What do we say in the scriptures about the kindness of God? Chazdei Hashem ki lo tamu ki lo chalu rachamav. Right? Everybody knows that? The words, but spelling Hashem with a hey, not Yud Kei Vav Kei. Chazdei Hashem ki lo tamu, the mercy of God has no end, is exactly the numeric value of this gentleman's name. Meaning even the outcome of the celebration of praising God for the amazing miracle that happened to him, even that the Torah wrote in advance. But then I said, wait a second, there was a first part to the miracle. The first part to the miracle was that his niece got better. What happened to his niece? We forgot about her? And then I started shaking. Because in a quick calculation in my mind, I realized that the words that Moshe Rabbeinu prayed about his sister Miriam, a man doing something to help a girl, El na refana la, Hashem should make her healthy from the tzarat that she had. Refana is the exact numeric value of this guy's name. Heal her. Please heal her. Now do the multiples of the algorithm in statistical odds, and you'll need a whole lot of zeros. You might need a few papers to be able to write that number. I wouldn't know how to say it in English. What are the odds that in a book that has hundreds of thousands of letters, tens of thousands of words, thousands of verses, the only three words that are going to be the numeric value of the incident are going to be exactly the car and the two options that could have happened? The first part of his miracle that he saw, his niece getting better, exactly the healing of his niece is going to be there. And the outcome of the story, the celebration, the Chazdei Hashem, the great kindness of God, is also going to clearly be stated. And then people have a doubt if the Torah is true, if Hashem wrote the Torah. If somebody after that says he has doubts, I have no answer for him other than go get help. And honestly, I don't think help's going to even work either. But then I took it further. I called our mutual friend before I spoke, and I asked him, in the characteristics of your friend, I know he's very kind, that I was able to tell on the phone. I know he's very upbeat and positive about life, and he helps people, and one of his big mitzvot in life is people that are in the dumps in the worst situations, he picks them up and he does everything for them. But what else? Give me something else. He says everything he does in a hidden way. He leaves no trace that it's him. Bingo. When we take his full name with the full numeric value, 665, Hashem says, what do I ask from you? So he writes a whole list. Asok mishpat, chesed, whatever it says in the pasuk. And then the pasuk ends off, ve'atznei alechet im Hashem elokecha. And go in a hidden way with God. Do your acts of kindness hiddenly, quietly. Ve'atznei alechet is the exact numeric value of this man's name, Menachem Mendel Deitch. Meaning even his personality, says in the Torah. And how can we not end with saying, but how did he get out of the car? He doesn't know how to explain it. The cops didn't know how to explain it. The fire department didn't know how to explain it. So when we have a situation like that, what do we always say? God saved him. When God saves somebody, he sends a messenger to save him. So what do we say normally, naturally, instinctively? An angel came to save him. When I tell you the word angel came to save somebody, what's your association with angel? Eliyahu Hanavi, right? Eliyahu Zachur Latov is the exact numeric value of Menachem Mendel Deitch. So even the one who came to save him from the situation also said it inside his name. Eliyahu Hanavi was sent by God to remember this guy who does charity in a hidden way. And says, go pull him out of the fire. And go give him the strength to pull his driver out of the fire. And go give him the energy to take a selfie so everybody should see one day the power of giving charity in a hidden way to those who are in the deepest mess and in the toughest times in life. Go teach the world a lesson. Amazing. So I called yesterday to get permission to say his name. That's how I did it. To me, this is my greatest story ever. There are many stories I had that maybe on story level might be greater in a way, but to be able to have the story with the commentary, not just a story that everybody says, wow, and nothing comes out of it. A story with an intellectual case behind it, that's very rare. And I'm grateful to Hashem to have been able to get to this point and to put this all together. And then I asked him for the next favor. I said, you know why I want to use your story? Number one, because I think it's a mitzvah to make it famous. To give chizuk and emunah, and thanks to Hashem, and the more thanks to Hashem we give, the better our lives will be in life. But number two, I said next week, in the middle of the week, is Tu B'Shvat. Right? Sunday night was Tu B'Shvat. Some of you ate 7 fruit, I know. Others ate 30 fruit if they're Syrian. Each one did his fruit party. You know what else Tu B'Shvat is? 30 days before Purim. What did Chazal teach us? Moshe tiken lahem Yisrael. Moshe made a takana for Am Yisrael. Shiu shoalim v'dorshim b'ilchot hachag b'chag. That they study and get involved in the things that have to do with the holidays. Each holiday accordingly. How long before? 30 days. So in the Torah, there's a machloket if it's only Pesach, she'ilchotav merubim, there are many halachot, so you need a month. And that's why there's a minhag in the entire Am Yisrael that by the Seudat Purim we begin learning Ilchot Pesach. Or it applies to all holidays. But today that we make holidays very elaborate and do great things and beautiful things that Hashem loves. So of course we need, and we're not the biggest Talmidei Chachamim either, so it takes us a while to learn some halacha. So of course we all have to prepare for every holiday 30 days before. So Sunday night's 30 days before was 30 days before Purim. Now we're already 3 weeks and a drop before Purim. Everybody knows what Purim means in my world. Time to start saving up money, because you're going to get a big invoice. Because it's the main time of year that we have to show Hashem that we do things to give us another year of life. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet. And that we give thanks for all the money and all the blessing and all the health and everything else that we have in this past year that so many others, unfortunately, don't have. And this year, more than ever, that the Israelis, God bless them, I love Israelis, but they can't get their act together. They're on their 3rd election, going on the 4th probably afterwards, because it doesn't look like anything's changing statistically. And as a result, the government's not functioning. And as a result of the government not functioning, the Olam HaYeshivot is not getting the money that they should get. So coal guys aren't getting paid on time. So as poor as they were, they're even poorer. As hard as their struggles were, their struggles are even greater. And it's not for nothing that Hashem made the holiday of Purim revolve around Matanot Levyonim and before Purim already Machzit HaShekel and everything to do with giving, because that's what gives us the power to then demand back from God. Kol HaPoshet Yad Notnim Lo, the week before Purim, we'll give a whole shiur on that. So 30 Yom Kodem HaChag, when it comes a month before, I start preparing people mentally and emotionally that, Purim's coming up. Take it into account. And I want to tell you something amazing, which to me was amazing. There is somebody who comes to this shiur a lot of times. I didn't get permission to say a name, so I'm not going to say a name. I didn't ask, but I would assume I wouldn't get permission anyway. Who voluntarily, on their own, at the beginning of the week, sent me a text, did you open the Purim campaign yet? That text by me has the holiness of a Sefer Torah. And people are going to call me crazy for saying that and whatever else. But that a young person, Hashem should give her a long, healthy, blessed life with all the yeshuot in the world, on their own should already be asking a month before, did you start the Purim campaign yet? That's what's on her mind. She has many other things that could be on her mind. Many. That's a Kiddush Hashem that has such holiness, and Shamayim, what that does is it saves Klal Yisrael. It's people like that literally not just protect themselves, they protect the whole Jewish nation. It's unreal. So I wrote back. Honestly, I was going to wait another week and a half because normally I gauge it more or less right around Parashat Shkalim. But if you want to be the first, you're welcome to give the first head start. And 3 minutes later, she was the first to send a donation. Kiddush Hashem, unbelievable. I wish I would have that discipline for being a giver. I wish. I got a big musa from her. I hope to do tshuva and become one of those. Amazing. And then I thought about it for a day or two. I said, you know what, this year, because in New York, real estate's a little shaky right now, and in other industries, people aren't getting their stuff from China. A guy called me on the phone today crying, says he has who knows how much money worth of goods in China that he has to get to the US, but because it's in, I don't know China that well, but it's in some part of China that they can't ship anything from right now. So he got no goods, and he has customers, and everybody's waiting for orders to be filled, and talking about losses of money. Hashem should watch over him and things should be resolved. And this crazy virus, which is not so simple, it's a serious concern. Not to put anybody into panic, Baruch Hashem, in America so far, maybe in the merit of people's tzedakah, we're safe, but in the world at large, we all understand that the Chinese government are not exactly giving the real numbers of anything. This is a serious thing. And it's a respiratory condition at the end of the day, right? It attacks a person's airways. What's the breath of Klal Yisrael? Lomdei Torah, machzikei Torah. Eitz chayim, where does oxygen from Klal Yisrael come from? La machzikim ba, from those who give charity. All the R&D companies that are on the chase for a vaccine and antiviral for coronavirus, maybe if they give some charity to yeshivot, they would get there. Because Eitz chayim la machzikim ba, the solution to respiratory conditions is to be a machzik Torah. That's the solution. And so I got a big chizuk from this person. And this year we launched early. We're not so organized yet, I'll be honest with you. We're still working out the logistics of credit card processing and this and that, and each one for his needs, because today everybody has to be able to do everything at one click. If it's more than one click, they don't want to do it anymore. But Bezat Hashem, we'll have all that organized as well in a couple of days. But I say this not only for the live crowd, mainly for the viewers, just keep it in your mind. You have a savings account for your children, you have a life insurance account, or this account, that. Have a savings account for our Purim and Passover campaigns. And whatever last year was, let's try and make another 0 or 2 onto it. It wouldn't be a bad idea. Hashem sends. And we see big siyata d'shmaya. And that should be a schus also for these wonderful people that gave me this great story and allowed me to be part of their thing. But they should also see continuous great miracles in their life. But why is it like that? And for many years I've asked this in classes. Every time I give a different answer. Why is it like that? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you had a miracle, you said thank you, I suddenly forgive you, what, there's free passes? That's number one. Number two, somebody's supposed to die, he gave some charity, that's it, so now he's going to live? What is this, some magic trick? We know as Americans, a very famous saying, you can buy everything for money except for your life. And in Chazal it says exactly the opposite. You can buy a life for money. So you gave charity and therefore you're such a hero. More so, most of the charity we give is 10 or 20% of our money, which is not ours anyway. If we don't give it, we're stealing. So, and that alone makes us so great. Why? Let's bring it down a little bit. So obviously there's not enough time to elaborate a lot on the subject, but I just want to say one thought that I read in a beautiful, beautiful sefer that I bought a few weeks ago, called Midot Delay, 2 volumes, really beautiful job. Somebody, I don't even know who it is, I didn't even look at that. Avraham Hanunu, Hashem should watch over him, he did a beautiful job. So he wrote 2 beautiful volumes about different subjects, and he did a great job compiling information from all different places. And sometimes you can know a lot, but it doesn't always click in your brain what to fit it together. And then comes some Talmid Chacham, I don't know if he's young or old, but he definitely knows a lot. And he puts a couple of pieces together, and the same thing that you knew before became this whole new world to you. It's like It opened the whole light. And I feel a sincere hakarat hatov to each one of these mechabrei sfarim that I use, because so many ma'amarei chazal, and for so many years it didn't dawn on me what it really means, or they opened the door for me. And I have a huge hakarat hatov for this rabbi as well, because I went through both of his volumes and I benefited a lot. But in here he quotes a couple of interesting things. We're going to have time maybe to get to one of them. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'hakol nihiyah bidbaro. He quotes, word for word, the words of the Alta from Kelm, the Saba Mikelm. So I want to quote them word for word, because the Alta from Kelm, every word was measured very carefully. So it's important to quote. The Alta from Kelm writes like this. He's talking about what's the ma'ala, what's the greatness of noseh be'ol im chavero. Somebody who carries the yoke, the burden, together with his friend. I'm trying to think how to describe this in words. People go through hard times. And hard times doesn't only mean money. I know people that are extremely rich and their life is worthless to them. If they weren't scared, they would have ended it probably, Lo Aleinu. People go through hard times emotionally, family, loss of family, deaths. Hashem Yirachim, the Tzoros and Klal Yisrael, there's no way to explain. I hear a lot of it. Unfortunately, I have to hear more than most people hear. And there are many days that by the time 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon comes, I feel sick already, physically sick, to the point that I'm trembling and I'm not capable of hearing anymore, but I know the next person needs me 5 minutes later, and then I'm like, Hashem, please give me the strength just to fake it at least, something. I don't know. I don't know what to do. There's only that much you can hear of pain and sorrow and death and sickness in one day before your mind just loses it. And then when it's a buildup of years upon years, it's not easy. But I learned this from Mori Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, Ben Rabbi Binyamin Zev, Cheshen Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Levacha. He should pray for us from Shamayim, that we should be protected and have big yeshuvot always. Who gave up 50-something years of his life that he could have sat and learned non-stop, and that's what he would have wanted to do, just to listen to the pain of Klal Yisrael. And he always used to tell me, if you want to know what's the most important thing to do, it's to listen to the pain of Klal Yisrael. And it's to feel the pain of Klal Yisrael, and to live it with them. And we have no idea what an impact it makes on a person, just the fact that they know somebody cares. Even if you couldn't do anything for them. Just knowing that somebody cares, that alone is a whole different world. So the Alta from Kelm has a whole piece on the ma'ala and the greatness of somebody who's noseh be'ol im chavero. So he writes like this: Ma'alat noseh be'ol im chavero, the ma'ala of being a noseh be'ol im chavero, ole al kol ha'ma'alot. It's more important. It's above any other spiritual level you could possibly get to. Let's envision this for a second so we bring it down to reality. Think of some Torah giant in the past generation and think of the way you visualize his greatness. I would associate right away his learning, right? And the Alta comes and writes, you should know that if you're one who truly feels somebody else's pain and truly cares about somebody else's situation, and if you can, you do something about it, and if you can't, at least you show your support, you're greater than all the great people. That's the greatest level you can get to in life. And then he says, V'hi amidah rashit, and that's the most important and first condition, lahanagat haklal. If somebody wants to be a leader, whether it's a rabbi, a speaker, this, that, a askan tziburi, a gabbai in a shul, he has to be able to perfect this ma'alav noseh be'ol im chavero. If you can't understand and feel other people, then you don't belong in this area. By the way, Rabbanan writes, how did Moshe Rabbeinu become Moshe Rabbeinu? Vayigdal Moshe, what made Moshe Rabbeinu great? This is in the pasuk. Vayitzeh lechav vayar b'sivlotam, because he went out to his brothers and he saw their pain, and he felt their pain, as Rashi explains on the pasuk. Comes the Alta and continues in somewhere else, and he writes in the same, a little further. Tzuru, go out and see. Eiza derech shivol lo adam. Which is the right way that a person should choose? Liot noseh be'ol im chavero. to be one who carries the pain and suffering of others. And obviously, if he can make it better, he does whatever he can to make it better. And listen to his promise, 3 words. We're Sephardic, we like promises, blessings. V'tizku l'chol habrachot. And if you do that, you will merit all the blessings in the world. Chaim Friedlander writes, if we look deep into the Ma'alav Noseh B'olim Chavero, we see that this is not a luxury, it's not an extra mitzvah or an extra level that somebody has to get to. It's the foundation of being a Jew. Without that, you didn't even start being Jewish yet. You can wear a big kippah and shake all day and everything, you didn't even start. And then he writes, it's a Tnai Kodem L'Maaseh, it's a condition before the action of the other ma'alot that a person can get to in life, all the other greatness that one can get to be a person who's noseh b'olim chavero. A lot of what we know from the Saba Mikela, from the Alta from Kelem, we don't know from his writings himself. Some he wrote himself. And a lot of other things he wrote in different places. And Rabbi Yerucham, the great Mashgiach, compiled it and put it into the Sefer Chochmah Musar. So when Rabbi Yerucham was organizing the section called Ma'amarei Saba Mikelen, the Ma'amarim from the Saba Mikelen, which has many wonderful, wonderful Ma'amarim, it's worthwhile learning one day. The first 70, the Alta from Kelem did himself, Rabbi Yerucham did the rest. So normally, right, what do you put first on a list? What's most important? What's the first subject spoken about? Noseh b'olim chavero. Before learning, before davening, before anything. Noseh b'olim chavero. Shlomo Wolbe writes in his Sefer that if a person ever wants to get to anything that's called Darkei Dulav HaMusar, the ways of growing and being an ethical person, the first thing he has to do is work on himself to be a noseh b'olim chavero, to care about other people. And I end off with a story and a thought. The Panovich Rav, meaning the original Panovich Rav, Rabbi Yosef Shlomo Kahana, Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, the one who built Torah in Eretz Yisrael after the war, he was the giant of the Telz Yeshiva at its time, meaning the original in the town Telz. And then he was going to go learn in Novardok Yeshiva. You know, he graduated Telz and he wanted to go learn somewhere else a little bit. So he was going to go from Telz to Novardok. To learn in Novardok was a very big yeshiva, a very respectable yeshiva. Not big in size, but respectable. Big in Torah. In his travels from Telz to Novardok, he passed through the city called Radin. Radin was where the Chavetz Chaim lived. And he said, if I'm passing through Radin, I have an opportunity. I may as well get a blessing from the Chavetz Chaim. May as well get a blessing from the Chavetz Chaim. So he went to the Chavetz Chaim's house and he knocked on the door to get in. Chavetz Chaim didn't have gabaim, it wasn't a show business like today. He didn't have to bribe anybody, he didn't need drivers and grandsons and all this corruption. He knocked on the door, Chavetz Chaim answered, that's the way it worked. Chavetz Chaim didn't answer, but the Chavetz Chaim's wife answered. The Chavetz Chaim's wife said that the rabbi is not available right now. So the Panovich Rav, then he wasn't called the Panovich Rav yet, but he told her, he was a young boy. He said, listen, I'm traveling from Telz to Novardok and I want to get a blessing from the Chavetz Chaim. Is it okay if I wait? I'm willing to sit here and wait, as long as it takes. She said, sure, you want to wait? Wait, I told you he's not available because I don't want you to waste your time, but if for you it's important that you want to wait, come in. Chavetz Chaim didn't have a dining room. There was one little room with a bench that was half broken, and he purposely didn't want to change it. And he came into that little room and he sat there. And he hears from another room a voice of somebody crying terribly. But cries that scared him. It was like scary cries. Then he said, wait a second. The Rebbetzin told me the Chavetz Chaim's not feeling well. It's not available. Maybe he's not feeling well. Maybe he's in pain. Maybe to hear somebody scream like that. something must be really wrong, and I'm sitting here waiting. It's not nice. So maybe I should leave. So he went to the Rebbetzin and he said, Mechila, but is there do they need help? Is there something I could do? Or maybe it's not appropriate I should be here, maybe I should leave. So he said, no, everything's fine and you should stay. But what's this? He says, I'm shaken up from what I'm hearing. He says, what do you mean, what's this? A few minutes ago, a man knocked on the door before you and said that his wife's in labor and she's having a little hard time giving birth. And my husband went into the room to daven for her. You hear this? The lady was having a little bit of a hard time giving birth. And for the Chofetz Chaim, that was enough to go into a room and shed tears to the point that an outsider would be petrified of what's going on. Oh, okay, she's having a little hard time with labor. We would say, big deal, grow up, take an epidural, that's what we would say. But the Chofetz Chaim was in Oseh be'olim chavero. So to him, if a lady was in labor and there was a problem, it was like he was in pain. So he wasn't crying in tefillah only. He was crying because he physically felt the tzar that the other person has. Later on, the Panav Yisrael got a blessing from the Chofetz Chaim, and he wasn't capable of leaving Radin. He stayed in Radin. And he stayed to learn by the Chofetz Chaim afterwards. He said, because if there's somebody alive in the generation that could be such a great noseh b'olim chavero, that's the Torah that I want to learn. Not that, God forbid, a downplayed Navadik. Navadik would go in Ne'olam. Benkel Galinsky, that we always quote in the Shiurim, he learned the Navadik together with Stipler and many others. God forbid, we shouldn't think that we're comparing or judging, but they were all giants. But he felt that shake-up of the connection of Noseh B'Olim Chavero, and he stayed in Radin. And could be, by the way, historically, that's what saved his life and built Ponovich, because the Chofetz Chaim made I think it was the Chofetz Chaim, they made the Goral that came out of Bahal Tzion Tiyah Pleitav V'Haya Kodesh, which landed him in Israel and saved him from World War II. And it could be the whole Klal Yisrael today, and Olam HaTorah was built on that decision, on those tears that the Chofetz Chaim shed for that woman who was having a hard time in labor. What the outcome of caring about somebody else is. And I conclude with a thought. Caring is not talking. Lip service, people are sick of words. Caring is sometimes taking action when it's possible, and other times knowing how to say, I don't know what to say. If somebody just had a relative that passed away, a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, we should never know. What are you going to tell them to console them exactly? I feel your pain, you're a liar. You don't feel anything. You have no idea what it means at all. At least don't lie. That's so disrespectful. So what should you say? Be honest. Because sadly, I have no way to understand what you're going through. But whatever you can explain me, I'm willing to hear, and in any way that you tell me, I would like to help you. Or be there for you. Not help you is a little offensive. Be there for you. If somebody calls me and tells me he's sick with a certain sickness that I never had, Baruch Hashem, I should never have, I know what he's going through, I have no idea what he's going through. In theory, I know, I can tell you all the science behind it and who the best doctor is and how to get insurance and what all that I can rattle off. But do I know what he's feeling? No clue. I don't have the faintest idea. I sat with a 73-year-old woman and her son. It's very not well in Sloan Kettering, from our community over here. Not from Tov, but from the area. Hashem should send her a refuah shlema quickly, against all odds. This is almost a spiteful refuah shlema, because some stupid goy doctor wanted to make her give up the other day. That's the first day I had hope. I said, Dafka, because of him, Hashem's going to make her healthy. So one day I should be able to laugh at him to his face and say, you lowlife, you wrote her off for no reason. And it was late one night, and I'm sitting with the son's half awake, half asleep. I'm awake, she's in so much pain she can't sleep even if she wanted to. And she turns to me and says, Yaakov, what happens after you die? Can you explain me what's going to happen to me? I hope none of you ever have to face questions like that. What do you answer? I could have rattled her off, all the chazals. Is that going to help? Oy vavoi, what that's going to do. I told her, guess what? You're alive. So what does it make a difference? And hopefully you will live. And Hashem knows what's right and what's wrong. And I don't remember what happened when I died in my previous life, so I definitely can't share it with you. If I did, I wouldn't hide it. So this conversation's a waste of time. Let's talk about something else. And I did what other people would think is absurd. I threw in a good joke that I knew she would bite into because I already learned what goes through her mind. And she started laughing and it calmed her down and we spoke about other things and she forgot about dying and Baruch Hashem, now she thinks she's going to live already. And those of you who are in the medical field know that a big part of beating an illness is the mental state. You have to be noseh ba'ol. You have to realize, wait a second, part of being noseh ba'ol is to try and take upon the other person's situation, but at the same time, in the same sentence, realize you have no way to understand what that really is. And even if you went through the same thing, and this I want to tell you, every person deals with things differently. So you have no way of knowing the way that person's dealing with something that maybe you did deal with. So you got to be there, but you also have to know when to be quiet. You also have to know when to offer help and never to term it as help because nobody wants to feel like a charity case. I'll give you an example. Somebody had a baby boy, Pshat Tova. He has to make a brit. He's a college student. He doesn't have money to make a brit. It's a couple $1,000. He doesn't own a couple of dollars. Forget about it. One guy will go say, here's $2,000, a gift, make a brit. He did a big mitzvah, there's no doubt about it. But in the meantime, the guy feels like 2 cents that he had to take charity. Another guy will go over to him and say, you're making a brit, it's so exciting. I need a schutz for some business deal and whatever. Do me a favor, let me pay for the brit so I should have a schutz for my deal to go through right. And at that point, he gave the same charity, but in Shamayim, he's 1 billion levels higher. Because he didn't embarrass the other guy, he made him feel like a king instead of embarrassing him. It's not only what you do, it's how you do. What's the difference between the two people? Both people gave tzedakah, both people were amazing people. But one person thought it out, he was a real noseh ba'ol, and he said, if I would be in that situation, would I want to feel embarrassed like that? No. So I'm never going to do that to somebody else. I'm going to find a different way to do it. And the other person didn't put his feet in the other person's shoes. And at that point, he did a great deed. Great deed. His Gan Eden's huge. But he lost most of the mitzvah. Because on the way, he hurt the other person's feelings. So he made the other person feel second class. That's why I hate the term when people say, I'll help you. Don't help nobody. Help yourself. I'll be there for you. I'm available to you. Just take the word help out. Help makes somebody else feel like a pity party. And nobody deserves to feel like a pity party. Rabotai, that's my thoughts for the night. I have so many more, but wow, yeah, it's late and I have to drive home and I'm very tired. I'm not going to lie to you. But yes, you'll be noseh ba'ol with me also. And you'll understand that I have to call it quits. But from the depths of my heart, my life revolves around, this is what I wake up for every day. And Hashem should help that as long as there's a need, I should have the motivation to absorb the hardships and discomfort and embarrassment that comes along with it. I wake up literally before anything and everything to make sure that whenever there's an ability to make a Jew's life easier, we make it easier. Whether it's alleviating financial burdens, whether it's giving emotional support, whether it's helping in technical things and other things. And I really hope that you all start living that life too and do the same. And let me tell you a secret. It's very gratifying. You even get a lot of reward in Elam Hazeh, to the point that sometimes I worry maybe there's no Gan Eden left. When you go to sleep at night and you know, wait a second, I just married off 4 orphans tonight. And I'm giving you that example tonight because that's literal. Tonight in Israel we made 4 weddings. And not weddings for $6 a portion on plastic plates. Because a girl's an orphan, suddenly she has to suffer. In the most gorgeous way. In the most gorgeous way. 4 girls that one doesn't have, not a father, not a mother, but the other 3 don't have fathers, that could have walked down the aisle feeling like garbage, and instead walked down the aisle feeling like queens. When I go to sleep after that, I'm not going to lie to you, it feels good. So sometimes I worry, maybe I'm getting my reward in this world already. But at least you feel there's a purpose. There's a reason to wake up. Today, the 4th wedding, the caterer called me, he said, buddy, I didn't get paid yet. I said, I know, but I have a technical issue, I don't have the money to pay you. So maybe wait till Sunday. As I'm talking to him, I get a click from a guy on the phone, and he says, you need money for the Shabbos fund this week? I said, yes, but I have a much more urgent thing right now. And he said, what? I have a caterer on the other line. Could I make a conference call? He said, for what? I said, it's going to cost you. Don't ask so many questions. And he said, put him on. Let's hear what it's about. So the caterer, I tell him in Hebrew, you know any English? Because this guy don't know Hebrew. He says, I know English. Money everybody knows. That's what he says. Like a broken English. Money everybody knows. And he tells him, he committed to a wedding. He signed off on it. He gave me a deposit. There's a balance. He says, what's the balance? He says, that's it? Fine, here, let me take care of it. I hung up the phone afterwards and planned on my way home tonight to call this guy to say thank you. He called me 5 minutes later. And I said, oh my God, you called me for something else. You didn't call me for this, probably. So what'd you call me for? He says, I already did what I called you for. I called you because I wanted to give charity. But now I'm calling you for a different reason. I said, sure, what do you need? He said, I called you to say thank you. I said, say thank you for what? I have to call you to say thank you. So you want to know for what? I woke up in such a bad mood today. Because honestly, I don't even know why. My life is beautiful. I have a great family, a great business. Everything's beautiful. I was just in a bad mood. And nothing worked. He says, my friends are nice to me and everything, and in shul they're nice to me. He says, after I hung up from that phone call, I feel like the happiest man alive. Thanks for giving me a happy day. And he hung up. He didn't want to let me talk. He just hung up the phone. So there's even a bribery in this world, besides for the protection that it brings and the blessing that it brings and the forgiveness of sins that it brings and everything else. It's also very, very self-gratifying. So keep that in mind, my friends, and we're going to do in the next, between now and Pesach, so let's say about 55 days or so, we're going to do bigger and better things than ever, B'li Neder Be'ezrat Hashem B'siyata D'Shmaya, and we're going to make sure that no Jew in the world is left behind. And everybody has what they need in the happiest way. And Be'ezrat Hashem and that schus will always see Nisim Gluyim, Amen v'Amen.